Coming up on Sbu TV, the search continues for a new dean for the School of Journalism and Mass Communication, and we investigate complaints against St. Bonaventure's safety and security.
Hello and welcome to Sbu TV. I'm Joey Landers.
And I'm Christy Andrzejewski. First, we give you an update on the final steps of the selection process for the Jandoli School's future dean. The search to replace Journalism and Mass Communication Dean Lee Coppola has been narrowed down to 3 final candidates. The candidates, Jane Briggs Bunting, George Silvey, and Robert Buckla, each met with faculty and students this week and last during campus visits. Buckla graduated St. Bonaventure in 1984 and is the only alumnus of the 3 finalists. The search committee hopes to make its final decision by next week.
Timely, prepared, and qualified. Just a few characteristics one would hope the St. Bonaventure Campus Security Service should possess. But is that really what Security Office gives to the campus? I took a look.
When something goes wrong on SBU's campus, Security Services is there to respond. But who should students call if a situation turns potentially dangerous? We talked with SBU TV's Leah Murphy about her experience with a beverage center employee that followed her onto campus for getting film of their store.
As I was leaving the Coop Lab, I walked outside and he was there. He had followed me to campus and he wanted to talk to me. He was yelling at me, he harassed me. Just basically saying, why are you doing this to me, pretty much yelling in my face. At that point, I called Professor Wheeland and told him, and he said, call security immediately.
But after hearing Leah Murphy's startling story, we decided to do a little bit of investigating ourselves for SBU TV to find out just how responsive security was.
Security, Mary, how can I help you?
Hi, I was just at the Coop Lab and I locked everything up and I accidentally left my purse in there. Can someone come please down and unlock it for me?
Get somebody over there.
Thank you so much.
Through a series of staged phone calls, we were able to document how long it took security to arrive on scene. The average time was 9 minutes.
9 minutes seems a bit lengthy. I'd say ideally you want at least between 3 and 5, considering the size of the campus is not as big as some bigger schools like UB.
Being presented with a potentially dangerous situation, would you call SBU security or would you call the police?
Probably call security, figuring they're already on campus, but now they mentioned the 9 minutes, I might just go right to the police.
I would just immediately go to the police.
While St. Bonaventure security is a line of defense for students, never hesitate to call the police in a potentially dangerous situation. For SBU TV, I'm Joe Landers.
St. Bonaventure University has roughly 15 campus security employees working throughout the academic calendar. While many Egyptians were celebrating in Liberation Square, a female reporter was attacked, causing an uproar of questions dealing with women in the media. Leah Murphy has the story.
Lara Logan was reporting on the protest that rocked the country. She sustained a brutal sexual assault and beating. Logan was rescued by Egyptian women and soldiers. Lara Logan's attack in Egypt has triggered questions about whether or not a woman in the media can make it in potentially violent situations.
If a man can do it, a woman can do it too. Seriously. I mean, if we have women who are fighting in the war, why not have women covering the war?
I think women should absolutely have the option to be in that kind of situation.
It's important with any journalist, to be cautious in a situation like that, but I think especially females, it's a little more risky for a female to be in that situation.
Being a woman in the media, how far would you be willing to go to get the story?
What I would do, I can't really say right now, but I do know that before a journalist, I'm a person and I have a family, and putting myself in a knowingly dangerous situation, I would do more cautiously.
I think it's kind of hard to say how far I would go in that kind of situation because everybody, when you're sitting in a classroom, it's a lot different than when you're out there in real life. Women are definitely more susceptible to danger like that.
For SBU TV, I'm Leah Murphy.
Logan is recuperating at home in Washington with her husband and 2 children.
The Afghan government is determined to take over women's shelters across the country to enforce the long list of new regulations. The group that runs the shelters says the move is being driven by conservative men in the Afghan government who want to force vulnerable women to return to their abusive families and violent husbands. CNN's Phil Black reports from Kabul.
The scarring on this woman's back reflects only some of the abuse she suffered over 4 years. Her name is Neknama. She thinks she's around 20 years old. She weeps as she describes life with her husband. He tied my hands, she says. He beat me with everything, wood, a screwdriver, whatever he had in his hand. She says her sister-in-law and mother-in-law also tortured her with scalding hot water, wires, chains, knives, and they tore at her flesh with pliers. She is one of around 210 women across Afghanistan who are living in donor-sponsored shelters for victims of domestic violence. But their lives are about to get more difficult. The Afghan government wants to take over those shelters.
I'm shocked. I never expected this.
Manisha Nadiri's organisation runs 4 shelters here. They took in and are still supporting Bibi Aisha, the young woman whose nose and ears were cut off and whose face has become an iconic reminder of women suffering in Afghanistan.
This is going to turn back women's rights. I mean, I'm really afraid for Afghanistan, for the Afghan women. The Taliban, it's going to be like living under the Taliban, really.
It's not law yet, but Women's Minister Hassan Banu Ghazanfar says the government is determined to take over the shelters and change them. She wants a government director installed in every facility. All women will have to be vetted by a panel to determine if they deserve help. And once in, they won't be allowed to leave until they return to their family. So these safe houses are losing the right to choose who they shelter and for how long. The people who run them now don't trust the government's intentions here, nor its ability and willingness to protect all the vulnerable women of this country.
The president himself is reaching out to the Taliban and calling them his brothers. So his concern is not his sisters, his daughters, mothers of this country. It's very much about appeasing conservative religious factions, which have more and more control and power in this government.
The minister denies that. She tells me the changes are to help women and fix problems in the shelters. She says they've found examples of corruption within the current system, and there might be other violations against the good culture of Afghans. Among other things, she means prostitution.
That's preposterous. It's crazy.
But it's an idea that has support on the streets of Kabul. There's prostitution in the shelters, this man says. They shouldn't run away from their families, says another. Neknama fears her husband will kill her if she returns. Her choices may be limited. Her shelter and others say they'll close down if the government takes control. Phil Black, CNN, Kabul.
Next on Sbu TV, could Facebook be helping you get into college?
Get up, stand up, jump on my sister, don't give up the fight. Tell them. We never give up the fight. You gotta let them know how. I never give up the fight. Oh, get up, stand up, what we gonna do? Stand up for a right. Get up, stand up, oh yeah, don't give up the fight.
Students may have an easier time deciding where to apply to college next fall thanks to Admission Splash, a new Facebook application. But as Sbu TV's Lauren Adams found out, applicants shouldn't be too trusting of this new technology.
It has games, pictures, and the capabilities to allow a user to keep in touch with people all over the world.
It becomes kind of another communication tool that we've just become dependent on.
And now, Facebook has a new application for college hopefuls. The new application, Admission Splash, has a user enter his or her GPA, SAT and ACT scores, and extracurricular activities. The app then computes the likelihood a user will be accepted into a given college. Admission counselors warn that bad results shouldn't be taken too seriously. The Facebook application doesn't account for personal essays or letters of recommendation, so even if you receive a negative score from Admission Splash, you should still apply to that college.
I would never want a student to be turned off to St. Bonaventure or any institution based on what a computer is telling them.
Experts have other advice for how to go about applying for schools.
I'm not sure a general tool like that could really give you the same data as if you just looked at your top 10 colleges and really kind of put together a portfolio that made sense.
Nothing replaces making a contact at a university through that university's admissions office, because that really is the best source of information.
For SBU TV, I'm Lauren Adams.
Creators of Admission Splash hope to advance the software to include the likelihood of the acceptance into graduate, law, and medical school programs. Has a new Facebook application finally reached a stalker status? Sudore reports.
In today's world, social networking has become a norm.
I guess it was invented just so that everyone knows what's going on in people's lives, just because people like stalking other people and knowing what's going on in their friends' lives and maybe even someone they don't know.
But what about having your personal relationships online for anyone to see?
Yes, my relationship is on Facebook. I guess just because of the standards of today, pretty much everyone in our age group expects it to be on Facebook if you are in a relationship.
Facebook's breakup notifier lets users pick certain friends' relationships they want to monitor. If there's a change in relationship status, the user gets notified by email.
Honestly, I think it's really creepy. I don't want people knowing how long I've been in a relationship and if I broke up with him. I think they should just ask me or they would know if they're my friend.
While this new app isn't for everyone, chances are it will still be popular.
I think definitely will get used. I know for a fact there are people out there that will take it to that extreme, but if you're stalking an ex, just get over it.
And if getting over an ex is what you're trying to do, this app is definitely not for you.
For SBU TV, I'm Sudore.
Facebook breakup notifier already has more than 3 million users in its database.
Pay attention, internet users. Logging on to websites such as Facebook or Twitter in a non-protected Wi-Fi area may not be the smartest move. SBU TV's Brittany Whalley reports.
Could the person sitting next to you in the cafe be snooping at your cookies? Be aware, St. Bonaventure students, by logging on to non-encrypted websites, your private information may not be so secure after all.
Yeah, the problem is people using unsecured web connections over wireless connections that are open to everyone. The problem here is that on these open Wi-Fi connections, everyone can see the other connections if they're unsecured.
When logging into a website, you usually start by submitting your username and password. The server then checks to see if an account matching this information exists, and if so, replies back to you with a cookie.
A cookie is a tool that web developers and website owners create to simply pass information back and forth.
HTTP session hijacking, sometimes known as sidejacking, is when an attacker gets a hold of a user's cookies, allowing them to do anything the user can do on a particular website. Recently, the web browser Firefox released an extension called Firesheep. This shows how easy it is for hackers to attack unencrypted wireless networks and steal the sessions of other users who are logged on, basically pretending they are someone who they are not. The best way to avoid becoming a victim is simple.
Reduce your time on sensitive sites to as little as possible. And if you look up in the web address on your window, you'll see HTTP : or HTTPS : If it's not HTTPS, that means it's unencrypted and an unsecured connection. So you really want to stay away from viewing sensitive information.
Keeping you protected on the internet, I'm Brittany Whalley for SBU TV.
Facebook users can protect themselves by accessing their account settings and enabling secure browsing, or HTTPS, under account security. Coming up in sports, a special look at a dedicated Bonnie's basketball fan, and the baseball team prepares for its southern swing.
As an intellectual in this country, I am more qualified to make public policy. I've yet to find the woman who's my intellectual peer. Hey, ladies, Clarence. Straight white male seeks a good cook, someone cool.
This guy votes. Shouldn't you?
Okay.
Y2Vote. For voter info, call toll-free or see us at y2vote.org.
For sports, I'm Conor Mooney. After 4 years of leading the student section at the basketball games, one senior prepares for what could be his last game. I did some investigating. The St. Bonaventure basketball team is known for drawing big crowds with passionate fans, some who seem to really stand out. But after 4 years in the student section here, one animated fan prepares to say goodbye. Have you been the Banana for all 4 years?
Yes.
Tim Schneider at the Banana believes he's created a better atmosphere at the basketball games.
It seems like as soon as I walk in, the crowd gets more interested than what they were before, and it's nice to be able to lead things that without it, it would just be noise instead of passionate cheering.
Now with the season coming to a close, Tim looks for others to take on the job.
There's a few freshmen that seem interested, but I don't know if they really want to do it.
Wednesday marked the last home game for students, but Tim still hopes for a big crowd on March 5th against Rhode Island.
I'll be here next Saturday. It's a day before break ends. People need to show up for it.
But Tim isn't hanging up the costume just yet. He has hopes for a Bonaventure postseason.
If we don't make it to Atlantic City, I think I might cry. I want to go back there as Banana. It was a great time last year. I want to do it again. I want to win more than just the home game this year.
March 5th might be the last time that fans have a chance to see the graduating senior as the Banana.
This is it. This is a college thing, not a career.
For Sbu TV, I'm Conor Mooney. Tim hopes to find a replacement Banana by the end of the academic year. The men's basketball team hosted the Fordham Rams Wednesday night, looking to improve its seed for the Atlantic 10 Conference Tournament. The Rams came into the game having lost their last 38 games in conference play. Fordham got off to a quick 2-0 start as Alberto Esquick cleaned up a Chris Gaston miss. The Bonnies soon took control, sparked by this Andrew Nicholson dunk.
It's Andrew Nicholson wide open. Bonnie's on the break.
Then Michael Davenport threw down this monster slam. Here's how it looked from courtside.
That's going to be the angle that he gets. And you know after the game, Davenport's going to be looking for a copy of that picture.
Forward Brett Roseborough then finished this nice feed from Ogo Adeboye.
Thank you very much, Shannon Shepard with Coach.
The Bonnies took a 14-point lead into halftime.
Three at the buzzer. Bonaventure leads 37-23 at the break.
In the second half, Matthew Wright's tray extended the lead to 21. Nicholson fought off Gaston for another thunder dunk. Demetrius Conker took flight down the baseline for this slam. Roseborough then hit this layup and a foul for two of his career-high 12 points. St. Bonaventure defeated Fordham 82-63. Conger led the Bonnies with 18 points. The Bonnies traveled to Philadelphia to play St. Joe's on Saturday. Even with snow still covering Fred Hamler Park, the St. Bonaventure baseball team begins its season this weekend, but in a much warmer climate. Sbu TV's Kevin Clark has more.
After practicing indoors for the past several weeks, the Bonnies will finally play outside when they head to West Palm Beach, Florida to play 9 games in 10 days.
We're chomping at the bit right now. I mean, we get the weather here and, we hear about the weather down in Florida and we really can't wait.
As St. Bonaventure prepares for the upcoming season, they're trying to put behind them a difficult 2010 season, riddled with injuries and inconsistent play.
It's the worst year we've had since 1989. We lost our number 1 and number 2 starting pitcher at the beginning of the year, and we also knew we were going to be playing 3 freshman position players.
St. Bonaventure lost shortstop Jesse Bosnick, who led the team in batting average, home runs, and RBIs when he was drafted in the 13th round of the 2010 Major League Amateur Draft by the Los Angeles Dodgers. But Sudbrick is still optimistic about his team's offense this season.
Returning the other 8 guys in the lineup, who will all be a year older and smarter, we do think overall the lineup will be a little better.
However, college baseball could see their offensive numbers go down dramatically as the NCAA mandated new restrictions on the aluminum bats, making them more like wood.
The bats are dead.
And pitchers like the new changes.
Advantages of the new bat are just that the sweet spot, is a little bit smaller.
and guys won't be hitting the ball off the end of the bat and still getting a home run or getting doubles over outfielders' heads.
And hitters understand runs will be at a premium.
You're going to have to play a lot of small ball now, bunting people over and stuff like that.
And the first time we got those bats and used them this fall, every guy on the team, the hitters acted like they had just went to their best friend's funeral, and the pitchers act like they'd just been to their best friend's wedding.
With their top 2 pitchers and 8 starting position players returning, the Bonnies were still picked 12th in the Atlantic 10.
I'm not too concerned about that pick. I mean, hell, we stunk last year, so that's what they based it on. And until you do something different, that's what you did.
For Sbu TV, I'm Kevin Clark.
The Bonnies' first home game is scheduled for March 15th. The St. Bonaventure softball team says aloha to its 2011 season with a week-long trip to Hawaii during midterm break. Tyler Diedrich has a preview.
The St. Bonaventure softball team opens its season with 4 games in Honolulu. The Bonnies were picked to finish 9th in the Atlantic 10 preseason poll and are eager to turn some heads.
We've been working hard. I mean, the biggest thing is that they've been working hard in the weight room. They've been working hard on the practice facilities and, swinging a bat and throwing a ball, and we're looking pretty good right now, so we're excited about the coming season.
The Bonnies went 13-27 overall last season with a 7-11 conference record and finished 8th of 11 teams in the Atlantic 10.
The softball team doesn't get to play a game on its home field for another month, but Coach Mike Treehouse said the team is excited to finally open its season and enjoy some pleasant scenery. Well, we're definitely getting cabin fever. So we leave on Sunday for Hawaii, and from 20 degrees to 82 degrees is going to make a big difference. The first 4 days, we're not doing much. We're going to practice a couple days. We're actually going to take a trip to Pearl Harbor, and we're going to join a luau on the beach, and then we're going to practice a few days, and on Friday we get number 8 Hawaii.
Treehouse said the team has improved in every area, and he expects to return to the conference tournament after a 1-year hiatus.
The outfield's really strong. We had some good additions to the outfield. The pitching staff, we've got 4 deep in the pitchers this year, and also the infield. I mean, we've added some new blood to the infield. So I mean, I don't think there's really a weakness. I think it just comes down to everybody playing well, and we'll be all right.
For Sbu TV, I'm Tyler Diedrich.
The Bonnies play a total of 11 games in Hawaii, Tennessee, and Washington, D.C. before their home opener, March 25th against Fordham. That's all for Sbu TV. I'm Conor Mooney.
I'm Joey Landers.
And I'm Christy Andrzejewski. For the rest of us here in the Coop Lab, thanks for watching.